When my parents announced that I wasn't getting a single dollar from their will, everyone at the dinner table looked at me, waiting for me to break. Instead, I smiled, because they had no idea. My grandfather had already planned for this day and hidden the truth inside a sealed letter that no one had ever seen. My name is Ethan Walker. I grew up in a wealthy family outside Boston. From the outside, we looked perfect. A beautiful house, luxury cars, private schools, family vacations every summer. People thought we had everything. What they didn't know was that my parents only had room in their hearts for one child, my older sister, Sophia. Sophia was the golden child. If she scored an A, my parents threw a celebration. When I graduated at the top of my engineering class, Dad simply nodded. Good. That was all. Every birthday, Sophia received designer bags, expensive jewelry, and luxury vacations. I received practical gifts, a backpack, a watch, sometimes just a card. I told myself it didn't matter. I wasn't jealous. I only wanted to be treated equally. But equality never came. There was only one person who truly believed in me, my grandfather, Henry Walker. He built Walker Industries from a small machine shop into one of the largest manufacturing companies in New England. Despite his success, he remained humble. Every Saturday morning, he invited me to his workshop, not because he needed help, because he wanted to teach me. He taught me how machines worked, how businesses failed, how trust was earned, and one lesson he repeated more than anything else. Money doesn't build character, Ethan. It only reveals it. When I turned 16, he handed me an old toolbox. It wasn't expensive, it wasn't shiny, but inside, every tool had his initials engraved. I've built companies with these. One day, you'll build something greater. I still keep that toolbox today, not because of its value, because it reminds me of the only person who ever believed in me. After college, I became a mechanical engineer. Instead of joining the family business, I accepted a job at another company. Dad didn't understand. Why work for strangers? You'll inherit Walker Industries someday. I smiled politely. I want to earn my own success. Grandpa overheard that conversation. Later that evening, he quietly placed a hand on my shoulder. I'm proud of you. Those 4 words meant more to me than every compliment I'd ever received. A few years later, Grandpa's health began to decline. I visited him almost every evening after work. Sometimes we talked. Sometimes we simply sat in silence. One rainy afternoon, he asked everyone else to leave the room. Only the 2 of us remained. He reached into the drawer beside his bed and pulled out a thick cream-colored envelope. Across the front, in elegant handwriting, were 6 simple words, to be opened after my death. He placed it in my hands. Ethan, no matter what happens after I'm gone, promise me, you won't open this until my lawyer tells you to. I looked at him, confused. What's inside? He smiled softly. The truth. Before I could ask another question, the nurse entered the room. Visiting hours were over. As I walked toward the door, Grandpa called my name one last time. Ethan. I turned around. Never fight for money. Fight for what's right. Those were the last words he ever spoke to me. 3 days later, my grandfather passed away. I thought losing him would be the hardest day of my life. I was wrong, because 1 week later, my parents invited the entire family to dinner, and before dessert was even served, my father stood up, raised his glass, and made an announcement that would change everything. The dining room was unusually quiet. My parents had invited everyone, my aunt and uncle, my cousins, even my grandfather's longtime business attorney, Mr. Collins. At first, I thought it was simply a family dinner to remember Grandpa. I couldn't have been more wrong. My father stood up and tapped his glass. I have an announcement. Everyone looked at him. He smiled proudly. After discussing the future of our family, your mother and I have finalized our estate plan. My sister Sophia immediately reached for Dad's hand. She already knew. I could tell by the smile on her face. Dad continued, "When your mother and I pass away, everything we own, the house, the vacation property, our investment accounts, and our shares in Walker Industries, will go to Sophia." The room erupted in applause. "Congratulations. She deserves it. You've always been the responsible one." I remained silent. Dad looked directly at me. "Ethan, we're not leaving you anything. You've always wanted to be independent, so we're respecting your wishes." The room became silent. Every pair of eyes turned toward me, waiting for me to argue, to beg, to get angry. Instead, I simply nodded. "If that's your decision, I'll respect it." Sophia smirked. "I knew you'd understand." But I noticed something strange. Mr. Collins, Grandpa's lawyer, didn't smile. In fact, he looked uncomfortable, almost nervous. After dinner, people slowly began leaving. As I walked toward my car, Mr. Collins called my name. "Ethan." I turned around. "Can we speak privately?" We walked to the edge of the driveway. He lowered his voice. "Did Henry ever give you anything?" My heart skipped a beat. The envelope, his eyes widened. "So he did." I frowned. "You know about it?" He nodded. "I helped him prepare it. He made me promise not to mention it." "Not until today." I stared at him. "My parents just cut me out of their will." He sighed. "I know." And Henry expected exactly that. A cold chill ran through me. He knew. He told me. "They'll choose Sophia. That's why Ethan must know the truth." My fingers tightened around my car keys. "So, what do I do now?" Mr. Collins looked around to make sure no one was listening. "Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. My office. Bring the envelope. And don't tell anyone. Not even your parents." Before I could ask another question, he got into his car and drove away. That night, I couldn't sleep. The envelope sat on my kitchen table, untouched, exactly as Grandpa had left it. I wanted to open it, more than anything, but I remembered his final words. "Promise me, don't open it until my lawyer tells you to." So I waited. The next morning, I arrived at Mr. Collins's law office 15 minutes early. He was already waiting. Without saying a word, he locked the office door, closed the blinds, then looked directly at me. "Do you still have the envelope?" I carefully placed it on his desk. He stared at it for several seconds, then quietly said, "Ethan, before we open this, there's something your grandfather never wanted your family to know." My heartbeat quickened. "What is it?" Mr. Collins took a deep breath. "If what's inside this letter is true, everything your parents believe about Walker Industries is about to change." Mr. Collins slowly removed his glasses. Then he looked directly into my eyes. "Ethan, everything I'm about to tell you is protected by attorney-client privilege, but Henry instructed me to reveal it today." He gently picked up the sealed envelope. The wax seal was untouched, exactly as my grandfather had left it. He slid it across the desk. "It's time." With trembling hands, I broke the seal. Inside, there were 3 items: a handwritten letter, a small brass key, and a folded legal document. I unfolded Grandpa's letter first. His familiar handwriting immediately brought tears to my eyes. "Dear Ethan, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And, unfortunately, everything happened exactly as I feared. Your parents chose Sophia, not because she earned it, but because they never understood what true leadership looks like." I stopped reading. My chest tightened. Mr. Collins quietly nodded. "Keep going. Walker Industries was never meant to stay in your father's hands forever. 20 years ago, I secretly rewrote the company's succession plan because I realized something. Your father wanted wealth. You wanted purpose. There is a difference." I looked up. "What does that mean?" Mr. Collins pointed toward the folded legal papers. "Read those." I opened them. Across the top, it read, "Walker Industries Trust Agreement. Beneficiary, Ethan Walker." I blinked, then read it again. Surely, I had misunderstood. No, this can't be real. Mr. Collins smiled. "It is. Your grandfather transferred 60% of Walker Industries into a protected family trust 5 years ago. He remained chairman, but legally, he was holding those shares for you. I stared at him in disbelief. My parents don't own the company. They own shares. But not controlling shares. I could barely breathe. They think Sophia inherited the business. They're about to discover they inherited control of almost nothing. I looked back at the letter. By now, your father probably believes he controls everything. He doesn't. Control belongs to whoever holds the trust key. I looked at the small brass key lying on the desk. What is this? Mr. Collins picked it up carefully. This opens a private safety deposit box. Inside are the original ownership certificates. The documents no one else even knows exist. Just then, someone began pounding on the office door. Mr. Collins frowned. I wasn't expecting anyone. The pounding became louder. Then a familiar voice shouted from outside, "Open the door!" It was my father. Behind him, I heard my mother's voice and Sophia's. They had somehow found us. Mr. Collins sighed. I suppose they figured it out. He unlocked the door. Dad stormed inside. His face was bright red. "What is he doing here?" He pointed directly at me. Sophia folded her arms. I knew he'd try to steal something. Mr. Collins calmly replied, "Actually, I'm carrying out Henry Walker's final legal instructions." Dad slammed both hands on the desk. "I'm Henry's son. I own Walker Industries now." Mr. Collins slowly turned the trust agreement toward him. "I'm afraid that's not what these documents say." Dad grabbed the papers. His confident expression disappeared almost instantly. His hands began shaking. "No, this isn't possible." Sophia leaned over his shoulder. "What does it say?" He couldn't answer, so Mr. Collins answered for him. "It says, Henry Walker left controlling ownership of Walker Industries to Ethan." The room fell completely silent. Sophia looked at me as if she'd seen a ghost. Mom covered her mouth. Dad whispered only one sentence. "He planned this. My own father planned this." I quietly folded Grandpa's letter, placed it back into the envelope, and realized this wasn't the end of the fight. It was only the beginning. The room fell into complete silence. My father's hands trembled as he stared at the trust agreement. This has to be fake. Mr. Collins remained calm. It was drafted 5 years ago. Signed by Henry Walker, witnessed by 3 attorneys, and approved by the court. There is nothing fake about it. Sophia snatched the documents from my father's hands. Her eyes raced across every page. "No, this isn't fair. Grandpa promised me the company." Mr. Collins shook his head. "No, he promised you an opportunity. He never promised you ownership." My mother stepped toward me, tears filling her eyes. "Ethan, did you know about this?" I slowly shook my head. "I found out 5 minutes ago." That was the truth. I was just as shocked as they were. Dad suddenly looked at me. "You planned this." I frowned. "What?" "You spent years pretending not to care. You knew Father would leave everything to you." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You really think I'd let you humiliate me last night if I knew this?" He opened his mouth, then closed it again. For the first time, he had no answer. Mr. Collins opened another file. "There is one more condition." Everyone looked at him. Henry didn't simply transfer ownership. He also left instructions. He unfolded another handwritten page. "This letter is addressed to the future owner of Walker Industries." He handed it to me. I read it aloud. "To whoever leads this company, Walker Industries was never built to make one family rich. It was built to provide honest jobs for honest people. If the day ever comes when this company is used for pride instead of purpose, it deserves to fail. The title of CEO is not a reward. It is a responsibility. Choose wisely." Henry Walker. No one spoke. The only sound in the room was the ticking of the clock on the wall. Finally, Dad broke the silence. "So, what happens now?" Mr. Collins answered. "Legally, Ethan becomes chairman immediately. He also has the authority to appoint or remove the CEO." Sophia's face turned pale. She whispered, "I'm the CEO." Mr. Collins nodded, "For now. But only until Ethan makes his decision." Everyone slowly turned toward me. I looked at my sister. She had never run a factory, never negotiated a contract, never managed thousands of employees. She only wanted the title, not the responsibility. She quietly asked, "Are you going to fire me?" I thought about everything: the years of being ignored, the family dinners, the inheritance announcement, the humiliation. It would have been easy. One sentence, and she would lose everything. Instead, I asked her one question: "Can you honestly lead this company?" She looked down at the floor. After nearly a minute, she whispered, "No." It was the first honest thing she'd said all day. I turned toward Mr. Collins. "I've made my decision." Dad held his breath. Mom wiped away another tear. Sophia closed her eyes. "I won't fire anyone today." Relief spread across their faces. "But I am ordering an independent audit of Walker Industries. Every financial record, every executive decision, every contract signed over the past 5 years. If anyone abused Grandpa's company, they'll answer for it." Dad suddenly looked nervous. "What are you implying?" "I'm not implying anything. I'm looking for the truth." 3 weeks later, the audit report arrived. It revealed millions of dollars in wasteful spending, executive bonuses, luxury vacations charged to the company, questionable consulting contracts. Walker Industries wasn't failing, but it was slowly bleeding money. The board of directors called an emergency meeting. Every executive attended, including my parents, including Sophia. As I walked into the boardroom for the first time as chairman, every seat turned toward me. The future of Walker Industries would be decided that morning, and one vote would change my family's legacy forever. The boardroom was silent. 12 directors sat around the long oak table. Some had worked with my grandfather for over 30 years. Others had joined more recently. But every one of them was waiting for me to speak. I placed Grandpa's old toolbox on the table, the same one he had given me when I was 16. A few of the older directors smiled. They recognized it immediately. One of them whispered, "Henry never went anywhere without that toolbox." I smiled. "He taught me that every problem has a solution, but only if you're willing to fix it." I looked around the room. "Let's begin." The independent audit appeared on the large screen, page after page. The evidence was undeniable. Millions of dollars had been wasted. Corporate funds had paid for luxury vacations, expensive cars, private parties, executive bonuses that had never been approved. The room became quieter with every slide. Finally, the lead auditor spoke. "Our investigation found no evidence of fraud by Ethan Walker." He paused. "However, we found repeated violations of company policy under the current executive leadership." Everyone knew what that meant. Sophia lowered her head. Dad slowly removed his glasses. For the first time, neither of them tried to defend themselves. One board member finally asked, "Mr. Chairman, what is your recommendation?" I stood up. 5 years ago, I would have answered with anger. Today, I answered with responsibility. "I recommend removing Sophia as CEO." She closed her eyes. "I also recommend ending all executive privileges for any family member, including myself." The room looked confused. One director asked, "You mean you won't become CEO?" I shook my head. "No. My grandfather didn't leave me this company so I could sit in the biggest office. He left it to me so I could protect it. I've already found someone more qualified." The conference room doors opened. An older man walked inside. Richard Lawson, the businessman who had mentored me for years. The board immediately recognized him. "The Richard Lawson," someone whispered. I smiled. "I'd like to nominate Richard Lawson as interim CEO. He has 40 years of experience, and I trust him." Richard looked surprised. "You never told me this." I laughed. I wanted it to be a surprise. The board voted unanimously. Richard became the new CEO. I remained chairman, exactly as Grandpa had planned. After the meeting, everyone slowly left. Only my parents remained. Dad walked toward me. His voice shook. "I spent your whole life trying to prepare Sophia to lead. I never realized I already had the right leader standing in front of me." For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he quietly said, "I'm sorry. Not for one decision. For years of decisions." Mom stepped forward. "We loved you. We just didn't show it." I smiled sadly. Love isn't measured by words. It's measured by choices. She began crying because she knew. I was right. Sophia approached me last. She looked nothing like the confident woman from a month earlier. "I don't deserve another chance." I looked at her. "Maybe not." She nodded. I understand. But everyone deserves the chance to become a better person. I handed her a small envelope. She frowned. What's this? A management training program. You'll start at the bottom. No executive title. No special treatment. If you earn your place, you'll have it. Tears filled her eyes. You'd still help me? I won't hand you success, but I'll never stop believing people can change. She hugged me for the first time in over 10 years. 6 months later, Walker Industries was thriving again. Employees were happier, profits were rising. The company had regained its reputation. Richard eventually retired. The board asked me to become CEO. This time, I accepted, not because I wanted power, but because I was finally ready. On my first day, I placed Grandpa's old toolbox on the shelf behind my desk. Every morning, before making a decision, I'd look at it and remember his words. Money doesn't build character. It only reveals it. Years later, a young intern asked me, Mr. Walker, what's the most valuable thing your grandfather ever left you? I smiled. It wasn't the company. It wasn't the money. It was the wisdom to know that the greatest inheritance isn't what people leave in your hands. It's what they leave in your heart.